my turn to give you one of the best upcoming podcasts out here. You heard? It's a great day as we have some of the best talents in Northwest Indiana right here on my podcast. It's amazing to have Lewis Shine and Charbria Shine right here on the podcast, man. I'm gonna give y'all a little bit of an intro if you don't know who they are, even though y'all should know who they are because they're pretty much everywhere in Northwest Indiana. Charbria Shine is a creative force. She has her play coming up, Dr. Love in the Hearts. It's a energetic play that plays on humor, music, and gives a live performance. I personally went to her last play that she had, Single Women Chronicles, and it was honestly an amazing play where she talked about her faith, talked about God, and how she basically went through as the main character, main went through faith and how she got through just the different experiences and tasks in life and how there's a lot of temptation out there. There's a lot of temptation out there that can kind of break you on your faith, but if you just keep rooted through it, it will be better in the long run, honestly. But that's my spill into it. That's Charbria Shine. So if you want to say, hey, what's up to everybody real quick?
Hey y'all, hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and thanks for coming to my play. It was awesome. We had a great time.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And then we got Lewis Shine. Lewis Shine is the owner of the Professional Hoops Association. It's a brand new league in Northwest Indiana. Four different teams that he put into it, just trying to bring new basketball talent into Northwest Indiana. And it's honestly really cool. He's in the past, he's been a PR major for basketball, had his own basketball team, and now has his own basketball league. Something that many of us could even dream of. He has it right here. So how you doing, Lewis? As far as that, how has it been? And yeah, how's it been?
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on. It's definitely been busy, and of course, you know about the last 2 weeks, man. Just having the 18th and the 19th preview weekend, so just still closing that out and just moving forward at the same time.
Right, all right. That makes sense. That makes sense. Well, now that I got the intro out the way, I could be a little bit more. The intro was always the hardest part for me. I got to get through that, just get the introduction. Now I could be a little bit more relaxed, right? So the thing that I want to know is how did couple, this power couple, get together? I want to know because y'all two are doing amazing things, and it's really an inspiration for me that's looking for a wife one day, and just to have a wife that's ambitious, to have goals, and fear God. And I just want to know, how did this couple get together? Can you talk a bit about it? I know you talked about it at the kickoff, but can I get a little bit more about it?
Go ahead, Lewis. You wanna kick it off again?
Sure. So yeah, we met back in 2018 through a mutual friend. I was living in South Carolina, so we were a long distance couple, and we dated for we dated for a little less than a year. We got engaged, um, and all within a year we were married. So, and then shortly after that, we ended up moving back to Chicago,
Mhm.
and that's kind of where we got started on some of the things that we're doing now, more so with her plays and shows earlier on, and then just recently, with everything with basketball. So that's in a nutshell, the quick version of how kind of things came about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess what my side of the story.
Yes,
Yeah,
of course,
like you said,
definitely.
it's such a quick story version because we could go forever talking about our love story. But yeah, we definitely trusted God in it, and the wait was worth it. And we got engaged within like 7 months, got married a year, the same day, a year later that we met. So that was pretty
Wow.
cool. I always say with God, it doesn't take forever. When you know what you want, right? And so it definitely was a God thing, definitely to find a partner who loves God, respects God, right? Respects you, loves you, honors you, and, who really supports your goals and your dreams. I think that's so important. As you said earlier, we're both ambitious, but the point is that we both support each other. And I think that is important because that's really tough when you don't have a supportive spouse. And I think we definitely are kingdom people, meaning we want to, we have a kingdom marriage. You know, we're all about God and pursuing his purpose for us. And we know that there's a God purpose in our marriage and for our marriage, and that he's using us together. And, you know, we're both, he's into sports, I'm into entertainment, and it both goes together, sports and entertainment. And we're just so grateful that God was able to put it together like that. I always used to say our stuff's different, it's separate, and we want it to work together. But God has a sense of humor. He's been able to show me how it really does complement each other.
Mm-hmm.
And over that weekend, the preview weekend, like you said, you probably saw how my stuff was complementing his stuff. I was doing the entertainment while you had the basketball going. So it's just really come full circle, and it's a blessing to kind of start to see it all come together.
Right, that makes sense. How does you like balance? Because you said it didn't take that long. It didn't take that long for you to date and to get married. But beforehand, like it's just in my opinion, because I'm young and everything. I'm single and everything. How did that wait beforehand? Just grinding, getting your craft together and stuff like that. When you were single, how did that? How do you feel that kind of set a paved way for marriage? So when you found the right one, which you both did, it was right. It was easy. It was like you said in a year you both married. So how did talk about that? Just for me, just as a single person looking
Yeah.
for a wife in the future.
Yeah. You want to start, Lewis?
It's not as easy as it sounds, I guess. Like, I mean, I was operating in what I was doing. She had her past, she's done what she's done. There was a period where we were not doing any of it, and that was like right when we got married. And we all know what that time was, the pandemic. So, like, both of what we do requires people to gather. And so none of that was happening because people were not in person, during the pandemic. So we had that kind of period. So we had to like transition back into it, So I hope to answer your question. But I guess in terms of like just doing your craft, like I say, in my past specifically, like when we met, I was in basketball as a coach. I wasn't doing what I'm doing now, but I was in basketball. So, um, it wasn't, it's still kind of part of what I'm doing because a lot of what I learned as a coach, I'm doing now. And then when we met, I was within that, you know, she wasn't, she was just working. I think she was doing some stuff. I'm not, quite sure. At least she hasn't told me that, but I believe she was just working at the time, and she transitioned back into it, later. So, um, yeah, I hope I answered your question though.
No, it definitely did. I'm glad that you said that.
Yeah,
Honestly,
I'd like to add on to that. So I definitely say, like he said, it's not easy. The wait, as far as like the being single, because I was in my mid 30s when we met. He was almost 40, so we were an older couple. I guess not old, you know what I mean. But some people, who are some of our friends were married in like their 20s, or even early 30s. And by the time we got married, his 40th birthday was coming up. So he's a little older than me. So it was just like, wow, okay, it came. We're a little older. But I would say for me and my singleness, I really I hated it for a while. Like as I was getting older, I was like, I'm tired of being single. Like, okay, God, where's my husband? Everybody else is getting married. Like, I'm really ready to move on with my life. But I had to realize that God didn't create me here only just to be a wife. My purpose is in him, and I have an identity within him and within myself. And so I started to pursue my passions again. Like, so I was working, but I was still doing the arts on the side. I was still in other people's shows. Actually, right before he met me, I went to New York to audition to be in Clueless the musical. I didn't get it, but it was just such a great experience because I was just like, oh, let me try this again. You're never too old to go after your dreams and passions. And I remember my husband telling me that the thing that really attracted him to me is that I was busy about my life and purpose when he met me. Like I was doing a blog and I was writing books and I was really sharing with single women the struggles of my single season, but how I became single and satisfied. And I wrote my first book, Single and Satisfied, The Single Woman's Guide to Fulfillment. And I really, in my single season, focused on not woe is me, where's my husband, but okay, I need to really maximize this single season. I need to enjoy it. I need to learn to love me, date me, know what I like, what I don't like, learn to trust God in the process of waiting for a husband, but not wait to live until I get a husband, because that's a difference, right? You don't want to do that. You want to really learn yourself and get closer to God and go after your goals and dreams. I went back to school. I, started my girl tribe. We hung out a lot. We had fun. I did ministry work, volunteered, was in musicals. I feel like it's so important to not squander your single season. I don't think either season's better, singleness or marriage. I just think that there's highs and lows in both. They're both beautiful, and you need to learn how to make the best of whatever season you're in. And if you are trusting God for that mate, continue to thank God for it. Find a scripture that you can hold on to, confess it daily, and thank God for it. But work on you. Like, be the best man you can be, so that when God sends that woman, you are ready.
Right, that's so great. Like honestly, that's literally as far as the main character in Single Woman Chronicles, that's
Yeah.
literally the experience that she went through and everything. And I'm
Yeah.
glad you said that because just going through God and going through your faith is really huge. And it's just like he gives you tests and he gives you different things, but as long as you align in his will, just continue to just walk in his purpose and it'll all work
Mhm.
out. I really do feel that way. I
Yeah.
love that. Well, this is normally a sports podcast. So normally I talk about sports in all different realms from baseball to football and everything. So Charbria, I had to switch it up today. I had to switch it up. This is the first time I'm asking about more personal deals, more about relationship, marriage and everything. So we had to switch it up today. So I want to get a little bit about you, learn more about you, spill about that. And you said that in earlier how you at first didn't even at a young age was like working a regular job or wasn't pursuing that passion at first. Can you talk a little bit about that transition? In what age did you realize like, okay, I'm gonna go full force at this, be an actress, performing plays and everything? What age was that, and how did it go about?
Yeah, so all my life from a child, I was in plays and shows and dancing and doing different things, singing, acting. But I went to Columbia College, and so I was 18.
Oh,
And
that's dope. Okay, my
yeah,
brother was there.
so
I'm sorry.
oh,
That's
that's
cool.
okay. So life just got tough, meaning I couldn't really afford school. I was kind of struggling. I was commuting every day and trying to work locally. So I quit school, and I was like, I just got to
Mm,
work. And
mhm.
in that time of working, I started to notice that I was good at what I was doing. I was in retail. And so I was selling clothes and shoes, which I love fashion. But at a young age, they just saw something in me. So I got promoted really quickly. And even before I was like 21, I was a manager. And so I kind of was on the side trying to be in shows and dance recitals and doing gigs, small gigs. And then eventually kept progressing and then had my own store. Once I got to having my own store, if I'm being honest, I had to quit the arts. I mean, because running a business full time, it was like corporate America. There was no
Right.
time for it. And
Mhm.
I loved it for a while. But after a while, my true calling, my true passion, my first love, which was acting, dancing, and singing, it kept nudging at me and nudging at me. And I was praying about it, and eventually God opened up a door for me to work at a nonprofit where I was able to go into schools and talk and encourage young people about healthy relationships and dating and their goals and future and their value. And during that time is when it really opened me up to exploring like being on dance gigs and shows and commercials and stuff like that. And it really didn't happen for me full time, if I'm being honest, until I got married. And that's why it's so important to allow God to send the right mate for you and match you up with who he has for you. Because when I moved to South Carolina, obviously I didn't have a job. My husband's like, "What do you want to do?" And I'm like, "Well, I want to act again." And he was like, "Well, you should do it." And he completely just, supported me and told me to go after it. And that's how I was able to do my first show.
I love that. I really do. I love that he was automatically supportive. Like, let's go. Go ahead and do it, honey. Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, for
100%.
sure.
I just want to know how does because I never done plays before. I never done in being an actual play. How does the PR, the networking? I mean, when I went to that play, there were so many people there, and I wasn't saying I wasn't trying to like roll it under or underrate it and say everything, but when I went there, I'm just like, this is West Side Theater, and all these seats are full.
Yeah.
How can you talk about just like the PR side behind it and the marketing and the pitching? And you have a great personality, so it just makes sense, honestly. But can
Thank
you talk
you.
about that? Yeah.
Sure. I would say I am definitely not an expert at PR and marketing, but I will say that we just did what we knew to do. If I'm being honest, and we're constantly trying to learn and get better in that area. We're still trying to crack the code, as you might say. But the biggest thing, and my husband is really the one who really helps me with it. The biggest thing is like guerrilla marketing. So obviously, passing out flyers, getting on podcasts and getting on you like this, and getting on different interviews, getting in the paper or different, magazines and different things like that. And just meeting new people. So networking is a big thing in and my husband's always encouraging me to network, get out there, find, meet people. And at first it's funny because I'm not shy, as you can tell, but it seems like originally networking I wasn't as comfortable with and as natural with that. And now I realize it's so important, not just to fill up a show, but to, meet genuine people that are supposed to be in your life, mentors, friendships, or people that you can support as well, kind of like your network and your circle. And so it's so important to always meet new people and tell them what you do, plain and simply. And I'm still learning, I'm still growing in that area. But yeah, we've been doing this since 2021 and it's finally starting to pay off. Yeah.
Right, that makes sense. Honestly, I really do love that you went back into your passion because not everybody does that. Not
Yeah.
everybody does that. They will just keep letting that passion nag and nag and nag, and you didn't let it take it to the grave. Like some people literally let it take it to the grave. No, you said
Yeah.
at this point, I'm going to do this. This is what God's telling me to do, and I'm
Yeah.
going to go full force to it. So I really do commend you for that. Honestly, I really
Thank
do.
you.
Now I want to go to Lewis because Lewis is so cool. Because when I went to Single Woman Chronicles, and Lewis was the one that sent out the tickets because I was a part of Black Student Union at my school, and he sent out the tickets and everything, and I'm just like, okay, stage manager, he's doing this for his wife, that makes sense and everything. And then he texted me, or no, I reached out to Chris Backus. We did some connection and everything. We did a podcast and everything. And then he was like, oh, you should go talk to my guy Lewis. And I'm just like, Lewis. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna talk to him. And I'm just like, I already have his number saved on my phone. What is this? So I was like, what is this? And I'm like, okay, oh, Single Woman Chronicles. Okay, that makes sense. And then I figured out he's doing a whole basketball league, making a whole professional league, as you can see from the shirt right there, Professional Association. And I was blessed, so blessed, to do an article about it, something that I sent to my sports editor, and he gave it a go. And it was out in Northwest Indiana Times, and it's just been an amazing feat. So what I want to ask you, Lewis, is how did Professional Hoop Association go about? I already know, but if you just ask the audience to tell them what it is.
Yeah, so Professional Hoops Association is a pro basketball league here in Northwest Indiana. Um, it really just started from my dream to help players to play at the next level that may not have the quote unquote credentials, and credentials could be, i.e., um, the stats, a gap in your resume. Um, it can mean that you played at a lower level. There might be a team overseas looking for somebody from D1, and they won't touch an NAIA player. There's a number of things and reasons why people decide not to choose a player. And I was that kind of player, and I had a lot of people not choose me, but I had someone that did, and that's how I played pro. And so, my heart goes out to help people that were in the same position that I am, to help them to get to the next level. And so over the years, I've helped a lot of guys, 20 plus guys, get to their next place that were in that category. And so, just my heart just stirs for that. And so a few years ago, that itch came back to just have a pro team. I started looking around, but I really couldn't find a league that, I could be in, out here, and that just embodied the values that I have in terms of what I felt God was calling me to do. Um, and so I just had a thought one day. I was like, why don't I just start my own league? And so the rest was history. I just started going about trying to get teams, not get teams, start teams in different cities. And so after searching cities that were 2 to 3 hours away, the focus kind of came into the region. And I was like, well, why don't I just have teams right here? There's enough cities that are in Northwest Indiana, but they also have their separate identities as well. So to have a team in one city and then have it in the neighboring city, the cities are both still separate enough and have their own thing going on, for lack of better words, that two teams can coexist in cities that are next to each other. So that's kind of where the focus went. And so as you've seen the preview weekend, The four teams that we named are right here, literally some of them 30 minutes apart, with the furthest maybe 45 minutes apart. And so that's been our focus. And, it's kind of one of our focuses moving forward is to have teams in those cities. We're potentially looking at having the league ran in one location for the first couple of years, but we're kind of just coming up with that in conversations. We'll see what happens there. But now that we have 10 months to really fine tune everything since the preview season has ended, we have a lot of things that we can kind of play with to see what's best moving forward.
Right, that makes sense. So, I mean, I'm a sports geek, so I have a bunch of questions when I come to professional association. I mean, I know you probably don't think of them now. You're probably thinking of you don't have exact answers, but maybe commissioner. As far as that, I'm just thinking commissioner. What type of refs are you getting refs from different like colleges and everything? Like, I'm gonna ask you two questions. As far as commissioner, that'll be you, right? And then as far as refs, how would that go about?
Yeah, so right now there's not a current commissioner. A
Okay.
lot of leagues run differently. Some appoint a commissioner, some don't. So it just depends. What you're looking for your structure to be. Right now, there's not a need for it. May not even have one the first 2 years. But as it grows and I'm more hands off, and there's more people in certain places that are kind of taking the reins in terms of just being um, in the front office for not only the league but for the different teams, then there may be a need for that. So that's just something that's kind of down the line, maybe as far as a commissioner's concerned.
Right.
Um, what was your next question?
Oh, refs for refs. How would that go about?
Yeah, so my desire is to look locally, just because I like to just give business to people that are where my teams will be. So definitely like to look local. I think one of my goals one day is to have my own association of referees. That's kind of just like strictly
Mm,
for my league. Um, and then as referees move into my league, I help them move up. You
right.
know, that's something new for me. It's just been a dream. Again, I'm not even quite sure how it all works, just because during my time in basketball in college and in the pros, I've always hired them. So, but you just have dreams in your heart. But like, I'd love to do that, and so that's just something I've always thought about. And so, it's something I'll explore. I'll continue to work with locals, and I'm also connected with some different referee associations that I have hired referees from at time to time. So right now it's kind of all on the table. We haven't made final decisions on any of that moving forward. But as we begin to kind of close in on things, um, as we get closer to May 2026, we'll have some better answers and some clearer answers, in terms of which direction we'll go.
Right, that makes sense. I just want to see where your head at. One of the things about me, I love playing like Dynasty and playing different playing the owner on video games and stuff like that. So I just wanted to ask some questions, see where your head at, stuff like that. But one of the real things that I do love that you actually did at the Professional Association preview kickoff was the vendors and the amount of help that you gave exposure to in Northwest Indiana. I mean, you saw Chicago Popcorn Land, if I'm getting that correct, AT&T, just different vendors and stuff like that. I met this guy named Jeffrey. I didn't know who he was, but Jeffrey from the Vibes podcast, really cool dude. And then you had your wife go out there and give Dr. Love in the Hearts a performance. Charbria, I don't know how y'all performed for that long. I mean, that was a 5 minute show. And now every time the music changed, I'm just like, okay, they done. Y'all changed at least like 12 different songs. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is a winded performance. But yeah, can you talk a little bit about your play that's coming up? I know I introduced it a little bit, but
Yeah.
can you talk about it to the audience?
Yes, my play Dr. Love. It's a comedy, and so it's really for the whole family. It's about well, first of all, it's going to be music, dancing, it's fun colors. It's energetic. It's just a really fun show. And Dr. Love is a love expert, and she is really helping her clients with the misconceptions and like realities of love, dating, and relationships. So she is sassy and southern, and she just is a ball of energy. She is really helping. So it's a couple of different situations in the show where you have the single unsatisfied girl, you got the situationship girl, you got the married couple struggling. So there are some funny characters in there. You got the OLG, which is the old lady gang. They're hilarious. So you kind of just have to come see it, but it really does deal with like real life issues, but in a comedic way. So, like, if you really listen to what the love doctor is saying, she's really giving good advice, but it's so funny and kind of she talks so ridiculous that you can't help but crack up. So, it's a laugh out loud, continuous, kind of a joyous show.
That's
Oh, and
cool.
it's October 18th. So it's at the
Okay.
West Side Theater. They can go to charbria.com/Dr. Love. And then if they use code Dr. Love, the number 10, they get $10 off. So it's going to be a blast. It's one night only.
That's cool. That's cool. How do you come up with different plays and ideas like this? Because it's one thing to come up with like an idea and
Mhm.
like a certain scene. Because I feel like I could come up with a scene, a
Yeah.
whole play of different scenes, and make it coerce and develop together to where it's a whole play and
Uh-huh.
it goes in together. That's something that that takes true talent. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure.
Storytelling and stuff like that.
Absolutely. I would definitely have to give glory to God. I'm going to be real because even though I grew up performing, I've been in a ton of plays and musicals, I never was in it from a perspective of being a writer, right? Or being a
Right.
playwright. I never thought I was going to be a playwright. I always just wanted to be a performer. But I remember when I was in retail management one year in my spare time, I just wrote a play. I never even produced that play, but it was, I guess, just a hobby for fun. And my sister, she's really great with writing, and she read it and my mom read it. And they're like, this is really good. And so, fast forward years later with Single Woman Chronicles, part of it was my story, like my real life journey. But a lot of it comes from just little projects I do. Like I made a 5-week YouTube project called Single Woman Chronicles. That's where the name came from. And each week I challenged myself to do improv monologues about what single women struggle with. And I took those 5 monologues and I crafted the show around that. And for me, my style of writing is sometimes I feel like God just gives it to me and I start writing. I'm just inspired by God. And then other times I start with just a scene and it just keeps flowing out of me. I can kind of see it like in pictures, like a movie. And I just keep going, and the inspiration, the characters, their attitudes and perceptions and what they will say as I'm writing, it just comes to me. And a lot of times I talk text it or record it for
Yep.
myself and go back because I get ideas all the time. Like I think so far I've written 7 plays. I think we only produced 6, I think. Or yeah, I think I wrote 8, but we produced 5 or 6 at this point. Yeah, a couple of them we haven't done yet, but I'm always writing, I'm always thinking, and I love it. I can do it in a pretty quick time.
That's cool. That's cool. Okay, I kind of love that. And this next question is kind of for both of you. But I feel like as of right now, I'm kind of, I don't want to say down on myself, but I am really hard on myself in my craft with my journalism skills, and it's just I had to literally pick myself all the time and say to myself that I will get to a position where I will get better, and it just takes craft, like it just takes time, it takes
Mhm.
diligence, and it takes just a certain amount of just grit to get to that level. So I just want to know, how did you both in both of your professional fields, like when y'all were down and y'all were thinking about getting up to the next level, how did you motivate yourself to get to that next level? Because I think about it all the time. I get myself down a little bit whenever I mess up, but I just have to know that there is a certain level that I will get to in this
Mhm.
journalism field. So how did you both um get motivated as far as that?
Mhm.
Um, I'll say the first thing you have to do is you got to get a vision, you got to get a target, um, and then you have to not give yourself any excuse at going after it. So when I owned a pro team before, um, I had contacted the NBA office and I asked them like what the requirements were to become a G League team. And they told me the requirements. And I'm like, that's all I need to know. Thank you. And hung up. And so that's where I was going, and I didn't give myself an excuse of why it couldn't happen. I didn't look for excuses. I didn't give myself an out at all. I gave myself an option of it's going to happen. That was my only option. So
Right.
I just went at what I knew, and what I did know, I went and found out. I would go surround myself with pro basketball. I would drive to games, to NBA games, and then I would go on StubHub and buy a $6 ticket and then just walk all around the arena, wasn't even watching the game, and just tried to find everything that I could and learn from it. Like I watched how the parking attendants did what they did. I watched how the 50-50 people did what they did. I would grab something to drink at halftime and sit across from um, the team shop and watch how they did what they did and how fast they were ringing people up. And then I would go in there and look at some of the merch they had, like, and just figured out how could I have certain things. And and then I would drive to G League games in Fort Wayne, like do the same thing. I would go look at their merch table. I would buy one of their programs and see how I can mimic it. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I surrounded myself and it was my world. And those things that I learned, I literally came back and put into play in my own pro team and made money from doing it. And so you have to, and then there was things that I didn't see that I was like, oh, I can be creative, because they don't have that. Or maybe they had something and I put my own spin on it. Um, and I really started doing that because of a scripture in the Bible. I believe it's in Proverbs 16. It's like one of the last verses. It said, I went by the field of the slothful, and it was all grown over with thorns and nettles. And I looked on it and received instruction. And it says, a little sleep, a little slumber, a little fold of the hands asleep. You know, so shall thy want come upon you, and poverty shall come upon you as an armed man. And so what that meant to me is like, if you don't do nothing, you're gonna be poor. You're gonna, if you be lazy, you're gonna be poor. But like, if you just go and one thing I pulled from that verse was that when he said, I looked on it and received instruction. And so a lot of people, they out here and they just figure in their mind that they don't know what to do. But like that verse gives you clear cut direction that you can look on something and receive instruction. So that's what I started doing. I started traveling to look on stuff. I will go on YouTube and look on stuff, like start looking at stuff. And you can learn because the Bible says so. You can look and receive instruction. I never went to school to start a pro team. I never took a course on how to start a pro team. I looked at what other people were doing and learned. So that's the motivation for me, you know, and that's what's brought me to today. That very key alone is probably 90%. I am not talking about outside of the Lord. The Lord is 100%, the reason why it happened. I'm speaking more so natural things. Out of
Right.
the natural things, about 90% of what you saw came from me traveling back in 2012 and 2013
Mm.
and learning from watching other people doing it at a high level. So that's how you get there.
I love that.
Part
And I
of
love
it.
you put the scripture into it. I definitely would not deny that at all. Please, if you can put the scripture into it at all times. I definitely love that you said that though. That's amazing.
Mhm.
How about for you, Sharbria?
Yeah, so I definitely could be like you, as you said, hard on yourself for sure, as far as like my accomplishments or things I'm doing. But I would definitely say, you said, how do you stay motivated? Well, for me, if I'm being honest, I don't stay motivated. There's times where I don't want to do it. There's lots of times when I don't want to do it or feel like it's not working or feel like this. And then there are times of great excitement, great motivation, but we all know that doesn't last, right? So we all know people talk about the discipline. I can't say, oh, I'm just so disciplined, but what I can say is like I will push through to get it done. You know what I mean? Like, so for like example, Single Woman Chronicles, that can be a tough show to produce. And there was times that I felt like I wanted to give up. And you saw the finished product and you enjoyed it and you said it was great, but it was hard. There was things about the process that was very hard this year in particularly. But the thing that I said to myself is, well, I've committed to this, right? we're doing this show. We got the flyers out. We got the rehearsals going. Like, I'm saying I'm a playwright. I got my business going and I'm gaining momentum, even though I don't feel it, even though I don't even feel like I want to do this, even though it seems like it's not working. I have to keep going. I cannot give up because I'm going to be very disappointed if I give up and then think, what if I would have kept going? And it's always that for me. Sometimes I'm like, I'm tired of this because sometimes entrepreneurship can be tough, right? And so there could be moments where you are down and you feel like you do not want to do it. And those are the moments I think that really defines, are you really passionate about it or not? I don't always feel passionate about it because it can be hard. And not for me and not the acting part. I love that. Honestly, I could do it in my sleep. I love being on the stage, but everything that surrounds it, right? The business, raising the funds, that just is so much that goes into it. Like you said, the marketing, the PR, the figuring out who's going to do what and all of that. But yeah, sometimes those things can get tough. And in that, you can say, oh, I'm going to give up. But like Lewis says, and he helps me all the time, what is your vision for your life or for this business? What do you see happening? And honestly, I don't want to give up now over some temporary pain or temporary issue or temporary frustration, because I can find myself frustrated at times, but then I have to look to my vision and say, hey, but there will be a time where I will accomplish this, or I'll be here, or I'll be there, or I'll have more help, whatever it is you're seeking, right? Or more money if that's what someone's seeking in their business or in their career. And so for me, I've just really been keeping that in the forefront of my mind, of looking at my vision every day and like talking to God about it and just staying focused and keeping like encouragement in my ear, whether that's a Christian podcast or a business podcast, or I definitely read my devotion every morning to keep my mindset. And I've noticed that when I miss that, I have a more negative mindset. It's only so long before my mind gets negative or down or like, I need to quit. What am I doing this for? This isn't going to work. So I really have been noticing lately, for me, that battle has been mental. And so I may not stay motivated, but there's things I could do to motivate myself, as those things that I just discussed. So you definitely got to keep going. It could definitely be, of course, a test, but you can overcome it. You just got to keep going. I failed a lot of time with that, of being negative or down on myself, but the biggest thing I can say about me, I'm going to get back up, and that's all we can ask. Just get back up, keep going, dust the dust off yourself, and keep it moving. It's okay.
I love the words of encouragement for both of you. That's honestly amazing. I really do appreciate it. Okay, I want to end this off on a positive note.
Mhm.
What are some of the future goals that both of you have as far as that? I mean, I know. Okay, know what? We gonna have fun with this. We gonna have fun. If right now, what's the biggest goal in your head? Like just shoot it out. Like I don't want the PR answer. I don't want the regular answer. I want like this the PHA take over NBA. Like that's the type of answer I want right now. So what type can you give me that? What's the biggest goal in your both of your heads right now?
To take
For
over
me,
the world. No, I'm just kidding. World domination. Okay, go Lewis.
for me, it's to become a billionaire.
Yes. Here we go.
Well, I can't top that one. No. For me, I would say to to build an empire. Yeah, for sure. I wouldn't want to just do a few plays. It'd be nice to have several plays, several movies, several TV series, several books out, like to really, infiltrate more good and also more godliness and more family friendliness in entertainment. So that'd be me. Yeah.
I love that. I love that from both of you. Well, I really do appreciate both of you for coming on the It's My Turn podcast. It's been a true pleasure. It's been honestly, I got a lot of great insight. I got to know both of you better, and honestly, I was ecstatic to have both of you on the podcast beforehand, and I'm just now even more eager to see what's ahead in the future along the lines of both of you two. So I really do appreciate you both, and thank you. Just thank you for taking the time out your day to come on the podcast for sure. So. Thank
Thanks so
you.
much for
Thanks for
having
having
us.
me. Thank you.
All right. Well, that's it. Make sure y'all follow me Instagram, TikTok. If y'all look, Instagram and TikTok and everything, and that's pretty much it. Peace. All right.
Peace.
Bye.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.